I want to start by, though, commending my honourable friend, the member for Strangford, who secured this debate at the Backbench Business Committee. Now, I think most of us who are season ticket holders in Westminster Hall would know that the honourable gentleman, the member for Strangford, isn't normally one to miss a debate, especially one on freedom of religion or belief. But I know I speak for all of us when I say that we look forward to him returning to the House and leading on this issue, with which he has spoken so much with passion and with authority. I also want to take this opportunity to thank our friends at Christian Solidarity Worldwide, Open Doors and Aid to the Church in Need for their excellent briefings and the wider work that they've done on the issue of FORB, not just during the pandemic, but also before that as well. Mr Rosendale, so often it has fallen to NGOs and charities to step into the breach and support religious minorities who face intolerable levels of persecution, compounded yet only further by the COVID-19 pandemic. One such example of practical support on the ground is that of Open Doors, whose COVID-19 relief package appeal is making a real difference in countries like Nigeria and India. Indeed, every £56 donated equips a rapid response team to bring emergency food aid to a family of persecuted believers impacted by the pandemic. And this is so vital because we know from research that COVID restrictions mean many persecuted Christians are often ignored when aid is distributed. But to understand the challenges faced not just by Christians, but by other religious minorities, I think we can look at the excellent advocacy work done by CSW and their country profiles. So I want to first speak about Iran and the situation for prisoners of conscience, because overcrowding in prisons during the pandemic poses an additional threat to the welfare of inmates and very much increases the likelihood of the virus spreading in these locations. A large number of prisoners of conscience are in Evin prison in Tehran, where conditions are overcrowded and unsanitary. By August this year, at least 25 people in the prison had contracted the virus, and on the 10th of August, several political prisoners had staged a sit-in to protest the unsatisfactory conditions, inadequate protection measures, and indeed the lack of medical care in prison. So I wonder, when he's summing up, if the Minister can specifically say what representations the government has made to Iranian authorities about prisoners of conscience. The pandemic has highlighted weaknesses and biases in legal systems and criminal proceedings. It's also underlined the degree to which religious discrimination is very much institutionalised in several legal systems. And I won't repeat the point that's already been made by my old friend from Congleton about the situation in Sudan, but we know that is a particular concern there. So again, I would ask the Minister if the FCDO has raised this with the Sudanese authorities. Now, there have been notable occasions when authorities have misinformed or concealed information from the public in a bid to portray a more positive national image, or indeed to create conspiracy theories that have adversely affected certain religious communities. Examples would be in China, Laos, Vietnam, where people have been arrested for circulating information or rumours about the virus online, and in some cases simply for questioning just official figures, or for wondering why their respective governments have not done more to contain the outbreak. And when governments fail to provide adequate social services, humanitarian relief and healthcare, civil society, and obviously most notably religious organisations and individuals invariably attempt to fill that void. However, this can be caused as some sort of idea of suspicion, and that leads to discrimination and even violence. There have been several incidents in Pakistan in which Christian and Hindu communities have been denied food by organisations which stated that the relief materials were only for members of the majority faith. And such discriminatory distribution of relief materials has been reported in the Sindh and Punjab provinces, along with posters on mosques and madrasas stating that food distribution is only for Muslims, which is of huge concern. I want to turn now, in the remaining time that I've got, to refugees and internally displaced people. Refugees and IDPs generally live in overcrowded conditions that would render them particularly vulnerable in the event of an outbreak of COVID-19. In some cases, those assisting them, some of whom are religious actors, have been rendered vulnerable. In May, it was confirmed that COVID-19 had reached the Rohingya refugee camps in the Burma-Bangladesh border. And the confirmation of at least 2 cases in the world's largest refugee camp led to aid organisations warning of an impending humanitarian disaster. Indeed, CSW has reported visiting the Rohingya refugee camps twice, and it's clear from their first-hand observation that social distance and self-isolation and hand-washing are an impossibility in camps where families live cheek by jowl. And with a limited supply of clean water, poor sanitation and rudimentary healthcare. So I think that the same is also true of the absolutely abominable concentration camps in which Uyghur Muslims are also being held. So I also want to ask the Minister to comment on camps specifically, which I think are an enormous concern to all of us on the IFORB APPG. Now, Mr Rosendale, concerns about the impact of freedom of religion or belief during the pandemic are legion, and I remain extremely concerned that the Government has yet to appoint a new special envoy for FORB at the Foreign Office. Ministers, indeed the Minister in the Chamber today and, of course, the Prime Minister have said repeatedly that an appointment will be made in due course. But, of course, this has not yet happened, which is a source of great concern to those of us who follow this in the FORB community. And so I think, given the wide-ranging list of countries that have been referenced by myself and my honourable friend, the member for Congleton, which are clearly, absolutely clearly violating freedom of religion and belief, I think this must be a priority for Her Majesty's Government, and I therefore look forward to the Minister summing up shortly and confirming when the appointment of a special envoy will be made and who will take forward this vital policy agenda.